Yeah, it's time to get in that zone, baby. I'm straight crushing. HB, LB, what up, nigga? Oh.
All right, brackets out. Got 67 to 68 right. Happy with it. Arizona State was the team that I had off that I didn't have in. I had 30 teams that I had seeded right. 31 I was 1 seed off, and 6 I was 2 seeds off. So pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Let me know if you can do any better. And then, so let's talk about some key matchups in this in the first round. You know, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here. Let's just talk about the first round per se. Obviously, let's start with the South. Virginia. Obviously, I think Virginia is definitely going to win. That's a no-brainer. Creighton versus Kansas State. This is one of those good 8-9 matchups. And I'm really feeling Creighton. I think I don't know how effective Dean Wade will be with the foot injury, and I just think that Kyrie Thomas can shut Barry Brown down, and I think Kansas State's offense is going to be stagnant, and Marcus Foster is going to be able to score some points for Creighton, and I think they play good defense, and I think they get the win. I think it could be a close game, but I'll take Creighton for sure. I'm feeling Creighton on that one. Kentucky-Davidson. This is a scary game. Kentucky is building on their season. They've looked better and better all year, and you know they won the SEC tournament yesterday, secured a 5 seed, and they got Davidson. Davidson can shoot some threes. This may be the case where Kentucky looks good, and Kentucky's a safe bet right here, but Davidson might, Peyton Aldridge might start hitting threes. Grady might start hitting threes, and if they're hitting threes, and Kentucky's shell shocked because of the tournament, Davidson could definitely win this matchup here. They're hot coming in to the NCAA tournament, and so this is one of those. This could be an upset, one of those 5-12 upsets, but it's just a little much for me. I still want to pick Kentucky. I still think Kentucky can win, but watch out for Davidson if you like the 5-12 upsets. This is the one that I like. This year is one that I like. Arizona Buffalo. I think Buffalo. They're gonna get hit with a wall with Arizona. I think Arizona's a really talented team, and I think Arizona wins pretty handily to set up that matchup against Kentucky. And I think that's going to be a hell of a game if Kentucky and Arizona can play. Right now, I think Arizona wins that matchup, that 4-5. Let's move on. Loyola, Chicago, and Miami. Miami, I think, got it kind of a high seed. I know they did play in the ACC, but they don't have Bruce Brown, and I don't think Bruce Brown will be back for this game. Loyola, Chicago, I think, is a good 11. I think they can win. They beat Florida earlier in the year, and they have played really good as of lately. I'm taking Loyola, Chicago over Miami. Tennessee and Wright State. I think this is kind of a no-brainer picking Tennessee, but watch out for Wright State. This is not a bad team at Wright State. I just think Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams is just a little bit too much for Wright State. Nevada, Texas. Texas to me it just is kind of stumbling into the postseason. Mo Bamba's had the foot injury. Kerwin Roach really struggled at the Big 12 championship. No Eric Davis. This team definitely got in because of its resume. And, Nevada's dealing with injuries too, but I think Nevada wins this game. A good game here, but I think Nevada wins. Cincinnati for sure over Georgia State. Some second-round games, Loyola, Chicago, Tennessee would be a good one. I'm thinking Tennessee, though. Nevada and Cincinnati, I think the injuries that have happened to Nevada, I think Cincinnati can handle that there. Down to the West, obviously Xavier. I don't like Missouri, and definitely if Michael Porter's playing, I really don't like Missouri. He's a ball hog, and I think he's going to be a hell of a player. I think he's a really good player, but it just completely destroyed everything that Missouri worked towards all season. Jordan Barnett also got a DWI or something like that Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and I mean we'll see if he plays or not. how focused he'll be. I think Florida State for sure. And, Florida State's a team that they kind of creep into the tournament, but this is a good team. Leonard Hamilton always has a bunch of guys on this team that can really play a lot of tall guys. They could definitely maybe upset Xavier in the second round. I'm looking at Florida State as maybe a sleeper type team. Ohio State and South Dakota State, Mike Daum is going to give them all that they can handle. I just don't know if Mike Daum's going to be enough. I think this is a popular 5-12, maybe not that popular. The most popular one we'll talk about in a minute, but I don't necessarily like this one. I'm going Ohio State. I think Keita Bates Diop can get it done over Mike Daum. And, I think Chris Holtman's going to have a good game plan for Daum. If they can get him in foul trouble early, that's going to be good too. Gonzaga, UNC, Greensboro. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I like Greensboro in this one. Their coach is very good. I think he's going to have a good game plan for Gonzaga. I don't really think Gonzaga I think Gonzaga is a good team, don't get me wrong, but I think this team is going to give them hell, and I think they can win it. I'm taking UNC Greensboro. I think it'll be a good game, but to me, Gonzaga is not what it was last year, and I think a lot of people still think, oh, they only lost 4 games. This is a similar team to Gonzaga, and I'm not really buying it. Houston and San Diego State's probably my top matchup. I really am excited about this matchup. To me, Houston's coming in hot. San Diego State is coming in red hot, and I think something's going to have to give. I want to say San Diego State is going to win this game, but Rob Gray and their ability to shoot threes from Houston, I think Houston wins this game. I think the hot streak runs out for San Diego State. Michigan and Montana, this could be a good game. I think Montana will play them all right. Michigan, I think, in a sense, if you look at their resume and stuff, I think they're a good team. I think they kind of got overseeded by the way they won the Big Ten tournament and stuff. I think they win this game, but I don't see them making the deep tournament run that people make it out that they can make. Another tough game, Texas A&M and Providence. Providence played good here in the Big East tournament. And Texas A&M has struggled throughout the year. If you didn't really watch, you would say Providence is playing really good right now. Texas A&M lost to Alabama, but I'm going with A&M. I think Providence. Providence is Jekyll and Hyde. They either come in and they look really good like they did this last weekend, or they look like total dog shit. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to play like total dog shit this next week. I'm going to take Texas A&M, and obviously I'll pick North Carolina. Going over to the Midwest, I got Kansas for sure over Penn. Seton Hall, NC State is going to be a hell of a game. Omer U7 is going to be a real mismatch for Seton Hall. Seton Hall honestly likes to play smaller and have Angel Delgado play the 5, and they may not be able to do that with Omer U7, and he's going to be a tough matchup for Delgado. Delgado gets a lot of rebounds, and he gets a lot of putbacks, and we'll see if they're able to do that. We'll see if they can stretch Seton Hall's defense by bringing Delgado out to the 3-point line. This is a really tough game to call. I want to say NC State's going to win because NC State makes teams just kind of get out of their comfort zone the way their offense is, and they play pretty good defense. But Seton Hall, to me, just has too many pieces. Desi Rodriguez, like I said, Angel Delgado, Kadeem Cartwright, I think is his name, and then Miles Powell is a really good 3-point shooter, and if he's hot, this is a team that's a pretty scary team. So I'm going to go Seton Hall, but that's a really good matchup. Clemson and New Mexico State. This is the popular 12-5. People kind of I've been using. Clemson lost DeAndre Grantham, and this is a prime team. This is a prime game for the 5-12 New Mexico State to win, and I'm just not buying it. I do see Jamario Jones getting all the rebounds that he does, but he plays in the WAC conference. So, how much can we believe that getting rebounds in the WAC conference is equivalent to playing in the ACC night in and night out? I think Elijah Thomas, they're going to feed him like they do, and they're going to be hitting threes. Now, if Clemson's not hitting threes, then this is not a game that you're as much, New Mexico State definitely has a better chance if Chris Lofton is playing good for New Mexico State. That's another reason, but I just think Clemson's going to be hitting threes, and they're a team that I think got misseeded when you look at their resume, and they're a 5, but I think they win that. Auburn and Charleston, I think Auburn wins. This could be an upset type game. I'm not really picking Charleston. Charleston had a good year. They finished first in their conference, but I'll take Auburn. I think Auburn gets back on track after really not playing that well as of lately. I think the winner of the Arizona State-Syracuse game, let's talk about that for a minute. I think Syracuse wins the game. Arizona State is not the team that they were at the first of the year. Now, if Arizona State's hitting threes, then yes, they can win this game. But Syracuse's zone is going to be super, super tough, and they're not. I don't think they're going to hit the threes like they had been at the first of the year. I think Syracuse wins a close game, and I think this is one of those games where you win that first game and then it propels you. TCU has some really slow starts throughout the year. I think Syracuse or Arizona State, whichever team wins, can beat TCU. So I'm picking the 11 to move on there. Michigan State and Bucknell. Don't sleep on Bucknell. This could be a game right here with Michigan State having about a week off or so, and Bucknell's a team that's in the tournament all the time. They play in a bad conference or whatever. But I'm gonna go Michigan State. But just watch Bucknell, Rhode Island and Oklahoma. I'm picking Rhode Island for sure. Oklahoma is ass turds unless Trae Young is just going off. And then Duke and Iona, I'm taking Duke. To talk about maybe a little bit in the future of this one, I think Clemson beats Auburn. I think Kansas handles Seton Hall. I think Michigan State kind of gets a cakewalk there in the round of 32, and I think that Rhode Island-Duke matchup is going to be a hell of a game. Really excited about that one. I want to pick Rhode Island. I really like Rhode Island, but I don't know if Rhode Island can match up with the size of Wendell Carter and Marvin Bagley. So that's going to be a really good game, though. On the other side, I didn't really talk about it. I said Florida State could upset Xavier. I'm going to say Xavier moves on. Michigan-Houston, I think, can be a really, really good game. I'm going to say Houston. I'm not sold on this Michigan. Michigan, to me, goes in the same boat as Michigan State. They've had a week off. I think that hot streak is gone. And then I think North Carolina beats Texas A&M pretty easily. Ohio State, UNC Greensboro. I'm sure Greensboro's luck will run out at that point. I'll take Ohio State to go into the Sweet 16. Now, the last of the bracket, the East, and I think Villanova has a very good chance to get through this. It's very formidable. Obviously, have them win their first game. Virginia Tech, Alabama, I think will be a really, really fun game. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech though, as well as Alabama's played lately. I don't know. I just don't trust Alabama. John Petty's a good three-point shooter, just not very good on the road. Other than Colin Sexton, I don't know what can will this team. And when you're talking about Virginia Tech, a team that really plays as a team, I really like how Buzz Williams runs his offense. They have to have paint touches and before they take shots. It's considered a bad possession if it doesn't touch the paint. And so I think that's gonna, and they're gonna slow the pace down because of that. And I think it's gonna get Alabama out of their comfort of running and stuff. So this is definitely a game that whoever controls the pace is gonna win. I'm going Virginia Tech. Murray State, West Virginia. Murray State is a good 12 seed, but West Virginia just does not. I don't think that press is gonna mess around with a team like Murray State. So I think West Virginia wins. And then a game that I'm really excited about, Wichita State and Marshall. So Wichita State looked really good throughout the year, and they're a team that I could definitely see playing in that 4-5. But I'm going out and I'm saying Marshall's going to win this one. I like John Elmore. I like what I saw out of the offense of Marshall. They move the ball real well. And I'm not saying Wichita State's a bad team. I can very well see them win this game, but I'm going to go and say Marshall. I like to have some lower seeds win some games. Florida, okay, well, St. Bonaventure and UCLA. I'm going to go St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure is a team I've liked throughout the year. When you talk about UCLA, it's basically Thomas Welsh and Aaron Holiday. If Aaron Holiday can just go off, they're going to have a better chance. But I'm taking St. Bonaventure. And then I'll take St. Bonaventure to beat Florida. Not high on Florida. Florida's like Arizona State. If they're not hitting threes, they don't look as good. So I'm going St. Bonaventure. And I probably even would go UCLA even if they won that game. I'm not big on Florida this year. Texas Tech, I think, beat Stephen F. Austin, but I think Stephen F. Austin gives them more than what people think. Stephen F. Austin did beat LSU at LSU this year, and they gave Missouri hell. I think they lost by 1 to Missouri, so watch out for them. Arkansas and Butler, I think Arkansas for sure. Keelan Martin, if he's going off, that's going to keep Butler in the game. But the fact that Arkansas has multiple good scorers and Macon and Jalen Barford, and then Daniel Gafford has just came on lately. I mean, he's been here all season, but he's really been coming on lately. I think he's going to be a big presence in this tournament. And then Purdue, Purdue, to me, they're really trying to prove that they can get past the Sweet 16. And I think that they can get past Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a good team, but I think they get past that. I think they match up against Tech in that next round. West Virginia and Villanova is my other matchup that I think will be in the Sweet 16. And then I think Villanova can, and Jalen Brunson and their ball handlers can take care of the ball well enough to beat West Virginia. Now, West Virginia had a very good showing from Javon Carter and Dexter Miles in the tournament. They were scoring lots of points for them, something that they didn't really have throughout the season, consistency from them. And I think that's something that is if they're playing well like they did in the Big 12 tournament, this team can go farther and maybe beat Villanova. But as right now, I don't know. Talk about that first one, the South. I got, Virginia and Arizona matched up in the Sweet 16. Tennessee, Cincinnati. I like those two. I like Nevada a lot, but I just don't see them beating Cincinnati. That's a really tough matchup. Like I said, maybe an upset from Florida State with Xavier, but I'm going with Xavier versus Ohio State. Houston versus North Carolina. I'm going Duke versus Michigan State. Izzo versus Krzyzewski, I think will be a really good game. And then Clemson and Kansas. And we'll kind of just end it there. I've done my complete bracket, and I've done a couple of them just to kind of see where I get and who ends up there. And I've had a lot of it. It's either Villanova or Virginia. I've also had in my Final Four, Kansas or Duke. Coming out of the Midwest, and I always have North Carolina coming out of the West. To me, I think the West is the easiest bracket. I think Gonzaga got overseeded, and I think Michigan got overseeded. I think the toughest one is the Midwest, which has Kansas, Duke, Michigan State, Auburn, Clemson. All those are really good teams to me. I think the Midwest is the toughest. The East may be easier than the West, but it's right. They're right there. And then the South is really tough too when you talk about Cincinnati, Tennessee, Arizona, Kentucky, and Virginia, all really good teams. So Midwest and South are really tough, and I think the East and the West are pretty easy. And I think Villanova and North Carolina Villanova is going to come out the East. North Carolina is going to come out the West. Duke or Kansas out of the Midwest. And I'll take Virginia, Arizona, or Cincinnati out of the South. And that's just how I'm seeing it right now.
You got that cocaine. These street niggas snitching out for no reason. All year round, I call it jug season. I blend in good with the rich and famous. But that'll never change the game that I'm claiming. They gotta change whips like